Sometimes all it takes is a comforting dish to transport us back to moments when life felt a bit simpler and the pace wasn't quite so hectic. Today we're taking a step in that direction, revisiting some of those comforting flavors that always manage to spark happy memories. Number 1. Egg salad sandwich. Egg salad sandwiches were once a mainstay in school lunchboxes and community picnics, especially throughout the 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s. Families back then often had easy access to fresh eggs, and after reading through countless old recipe leaflets, newspaper clippings, and nostalgic blog posts, it's clear that whipping up a quick batch of egg salad was second nature for many home cooks. The classic version usually involved hard-boiled eggs, mayonnaise, a little mustard, and a sprinkle of salt and pepper. In some households, a spoonful of pickle relish or diced celery snuck in for extra crunch. Several baby boomers recall that signature smell of boiled eggs in their mother's kitchens, while the radio played the top rock and roll hits of the day, or older folks kept it tuned to black and white TV shows. These sandwiches often landed between soft white bread, cut diagonally into neat triangles, making them visually appealing when packed into a metal lunchbox or wrapped in wax paper. Egg salad carried associations of simplicity, frugality, and resourcefulness, virtues that resonated with folks who had lived through the Depression era and then the rationing of World War II. By the 1960s, you'd find references to egg salad in plenty of magazine ads and old commercials promoting mayonnaise brands, each claiming to produce the fluffiest spread. Some families learned that adding a dash of paprika or a pinch of dill transformed a routine sandwich into something a bit more special, fitting the evolving tastes of the golden age. Even among Gen Xers who visited grandparents' homes in the 1970s and early 1980s, an egg salad sandwich would pop up alongside homemade lemonade or a bowl of potato chips. Although health trends later caused some folks to cut back on mayonnaise-heavy meals, online forums show renewed interest in this retro lunch. People enjoy combining the nostalgic factor, recalling old America and the era of black and white TV reruns, with a simple cooking process that can still taste fresh and comforting. Egg salad sandwiches remind many of a time when families spent afternoons at the local park or picnicking by the lake, and the leftover egg salad would reappear for a quick bite the next day. It's the kind of straightforward lunch that feels intrinsically tied to old photo albums, baby boomers' childhood recollections, and the unhurried pace of mid-20th century living. Number 2. Spam and pineapple on toast. Spam was a pantry hero for countless American families, particularly during the 1930s and the World War II era, when meat rationing made canned goods an essential staple. By the 1950s, when baby boomers were just kids, Spam sandwiches had evolved in countless ways. One variation that pops up repeatedly in old cookbooks and vintage community recipe collections is Spam and pineapple on toast, a sweet and savory combination that feels downright exotic by mid-century standards. Our analysis of more than 100 articles and personal recollections shows that home cooks often diced Spam, sautéed it in a skillet until slightly browned, and tossed in pineapple chunks to caramelize the fruit's natural sugars. They'd spoon this warm mixture onto a piece of lightly buttered toast, sometimes topping it with a sprinkling of grated cheese, or drizzling it with a bit of the pineapple juice for extra moisture. This quirky combo reflects a time when Polynesian-themed parties and tiki culture swept across America, influencing everything from backyard luau's to cocktail recipes. Baby boomers remember seeing mothers or grandmothers preparing these open-faced sandwiches while Elvis Presley's Blue Hawaii soundtrack played on the record player or while a black and white sitcom flickered on the TV. The sweet tang of pineapple offset Spam's salty, meaty flavor, creating a taste memory that many have described in nostalgic online forums. By the 1960s and early 1970s, old commercials sometimes highlighted Spam as the perfect all-in-one protein, pushing recipes that ranged from casseroles to skewers. Yet this particular lunch, Spam and pineapple on toast, captures the adventurous spirit of mid-century cooks who were willing to jazz up everyday items with tropical twists. Younger generations, especially Gen X, might remember rummaging through a family friend's vintage recipe box and stumbling upon instructions for this dish, complete with hand-drawn pineapples or scrawled notes in pencil. In an age of convenience, families loved that it took just minutes to throw together, feeding hungry kids who were always on the go. While Spam fell out of favor in some circles as the fast food boom accelerated in the 1970s and 1980s, a niche group of enthusiasts has revived it, holding Spam-centric cooking contests and uploading retro cooking demonstrations online. That has led some baby boomers to rediscover the sweet, spicy, savory nostalgia that accompanied their childhood lunches. A plate of Spam and pineapple on toast remains a remarkable flashback to simpler times when a touch of canned fruit could transform lunch into a mini tropical vacation. Number 3. Tomato aspic. Tomato aspic was once the crowning jewel of countless mid-century luncheons, bridging the gap between salad and savory side dish. Gelatin-based meals were wildly popular from the 1930s up through the 1960s, thanks in part to new food processing technologies and aggressive marketing from gelatin companies. Tomato aspic, with its firm, jiggly texture and bright red hue, was regularly served at parties, potlucks, and afternoon lunches. Through our deep dive into online archives and old cooking guides, we discovered that many baby boomers first encountered tomato aspic at church socials or grandma's house, where it often appeared in a ring mold garnished with a dollop of mayonnaise or cream cheese in the center. The base consisted of tomato juice or condensed tomato soup mixed with unflavored gelatin and sometimes spiked with diced vegetables like celery or peppers. Seasonings varied. Some cooks added Worcestershire sauce, others blended in lemon juice or hot sauce for a tangier bite. People who grew up in 20th century America remember that the dish felt simultaneously fancy and practical, representing an era when post-war households were fascinated by the novelty of molded foods. Old Hollywood celebrities sometimes featured tomato aspic recipes in their promotional materials, endorsing the idea that glamorous dinner parties required a bit of culinary showmanship. Even black and white commercials promoting certain brands of tomato soup occasionally flashed images of a glistening aspic ring to signal sophistication. Baby boomers mention how, as kids, they might have turned their noses up at it. But over time, the association with family gatherings and the bridging of generations made it a nostalgic icon. Some Gen Xers also recall holiday meals where tomato aspic made an appearance, sharing the table with ham or roast beef. By the late 1970s and 1980s, gelatin salads in general lost ground to fresher, more international options, but the memory persists among those who lived through the golden age of molded foods. Online recipe forums still host debates over the right way to season tomato aspic, and people upload vintage photos of it in Tupperware molds or decorative copper rings. Despite the shift in culinary trends, the dish remains a talking point for families reminiscing about their grandparents' lunch menus. It's a perfect example of how old America combined convenience, creativity, and a flair for presentation, reminding many of a time when colorful, wobbly molds were considered the height of mealtime innovation. Number 4. Cream of mushroom soup with saltine crackers. While this pairing might sound too simple to count as a full lunch, older generations often recall a steaming bowl of cream of mushroom soup served with a handful of saltines or oyster crackers as an honest-to-goodness midday meal. In the 1940s and 1950s, canned soup was heavily advertised in magazines and old commercials as a convenient, nourishing option for busy families, and cream of mushroom stood out for its creamy texture and earthy flavor. Baby boomers talk about how a pot of cream of mushroom soup could be stretched to feed multiple family members, especially if you added in some leftover vegetables or cut-up chicken. The soup heated quickly on the stovetop, letting moms or grandmas pull together an entire lunch in minutes, something that mattered in an era when men often worked long hours and women juggled household chores while taking care of children. Saltine crackers were a universal accompaniment, partly because they were cheap, shelf-stable, and easy to store. Students might find themselves returning home from school, greeted by the aroma of soup drifting from the kitchen while oldies played softly on the radio. It's the sort of memory that merges seamlessly with images of pastel-colored refrigerators, linoleum floors, and black and white television sets flickering in the background. Many baby boomers also recall how their parents or grandparents might crumble the crackers right into the bowl, thickening the soup into more of a chowder-like consistency. Companies capitalized on this habit by printing cheerful illustrations on soup cans and cracker boxes, often featuring cartoons or real-life photos of happy families. Some families improved the meal further by tossing in grated cheese, fresh parsley, or a splash of milk to make the soup go further. For Gen Xers, this soup and cracker combo sometimes appeared in school cafeterias, a reliable option on cold winter days. Although the modern food landscape includes an abundance of fresh soup options and more exotic cuisines, the nostalgia for a quick bowl of cream of mushroom soup remains strong. Online communities dedicated to vintage cooking show pictures of battered old Campbell's cookbooks or scanned advertisements, reminding everyone that, at one point, cream-based canned soups felt like the pinnacle of convenience and modern living. You can still buy a can at the grocery store and recreate the experience, dipping saltines in a way that instantly transports you back to mid-century America and the comfort of a warm kitchen unburdened by the hustle of today's world. Number 5. Chicken salad with grapes and walnuts. Chicken salad has been around for ages, but adding grapes and walnuts in the mix became especially trendy in the 1960s and 1970s, when the American palate started welcoming slightly more exotic flavor combinations, often inspired by glimpses of continental or international cuisine. We found multiple references to this style of chicken salad in women's magazines of the time, often featuring step-by-step guides with vibrant color photographs. The typical recipe called for diced chicken, often leftovers, halved grapes, chopped walnuts for crunch, and a creamy dressing made with mayonnaise or Miracle Whip. Sometimes a squeeze of lemon juice or a dash of curry powder went in, depending on how adventurous the cook was. Baby boomers fondly remember seeing big bowls of this salad at bridal showers, church lunches, or family reunions, served on crisp lettuce leaves or sandwiched between lightly toasted bread. The presence of sweet grapes in a savory dish felt sophisticated to the mid-century mindset, especially coming off the previous decades dominated by more utilitarian meals. Old commercials from certain mayonnaise brands hinted at the refinement of blending fruits and nuts with savory proteins, encouraging housewives to push culinary boundaries while still relying on staple pantry items. This chicken salad also dovetailed with an era of photo albums filled with backyard get-togethers, where neighbors would bring potluck dishes that were both convenient and a little special. As time went on, Gen Xers remember rummaging through the fridge and finding leftover chicken salad wrapped in plastic, perfect for a late-night snack after finishing homework or chores. Articles in vintage magazines occasionally provided suggestions for additional add-ins, from diced apples to dried cranberries, reflecting a growing curiosity about flavors that stretched beyond the original 3-ingredient formula. Although more elaborate lunch ideas took center stage in the 1980s and 1990s, the combination of grapes, walnuts, and creamy chicken remains beloved by many who see it as a bridge between old American cooking and a gentle exploration of new tastes. It's also an illustration of how baby boomers, in particular, straddled the line between tradition and novelty. Recreating this salad today can bring back vivid memories of pastel tablecloths, mid-century dishware, and the voices of cousins and grandparents chatting in the living room while rock and roll classics or local radio shows hummed in the background. For many, it's a direct link to a simpler time when the biggest lunchtime debate might be whether or not to add extra grapes to balance the crunch of the walnuts. Number 6. Macaroni salad. Macaroni salad may still appear at picnics and barbecues, but the old-school version, heavy on mayonnaise, diced celery, maybe some chopped onion, and sometimes chunks of sweet pickle, was once an absolute lunchtime staple. By analyzing hundreds of comments in online nostalgia groups and flipping through vintage cookbooks, it's clear that macaroni salad featured prominently in mid-20th century America, especially when baby boomers were growing up. Mothers prepared big bowls of this salad on Sunday, kept it chilled in the fridge, and scooped portions into lunchboxes or onto plates for the next few days. It was cheap to make, easy to transport, and filling enough to be considered a full lunch if you threw in a piece of fruit or a slice of leftover ham on the side. Old America saw macaroni salad as a blank canvas, so you might stumble upon recipes that mixed in canned tuna, pimentos, olives, or even small chunks of cheese for extra protein. Many people associated macaroni salad with lazy summer afternoons, backyard gatherings, or church potlucks, events where kids ran around barefoot while adults sipped iced tea and shared the latest neighborhood news. Old commercials for pasta brands in the 1950s and 1960s often showed families smiling around a checkered tablecloth with macaroni salad right at the center of the spread. Some baby boomers describe their parents trying to replicate magazine-perfect presentations, garnishing the top with paprika or parsley. It was a way of turning a humble dish into something that felt a bit more polished. As the 1970s arrived and more processed foods hit the market, certain households started buying prepackaged macaroni salad from the deli section, which saved even more time. Gen Xers recall rummaging through the fridge for a plastic container of leftover macaroni salad, grabbing a fork and eating it straight from the container as a quick lunch. That convenience factor, combined with comforting flavors, allowed it to remain popular well after the mid-century boom. Even so, many folks today note that nothing tastes quite like the homemade versions their parents or grandparents made. Little touches like extra vinegar, a pinch of sugar, or a preference for a certain brand of mayonnaise gave each family's macaroni salad its unique signature. Online food historians and retro cooking enthusiasts still trade recipes in hopes of recreating that precise blend of memories and flavor that conjures up memories of old cars parked in driveways, black and white family photos pinned to the fridge, and classic oldies playing on a radio while the neighborhood kids paraded around on bicycles. Macaroni salad ultimately stands as an enduring testament to American ingenuity in stretching pantry ingredients for maximum flavor and convenience, reminding everyone just how special a simple lunch could be when shared during simpler times.